Hi everyone. So I want to do a book review for you guys today. The novel Emma by Jane Austen. Um, as you know from my Jane Austen video or from the book haul video that I did, Emma is a book about a girl, Emma, Emma Woodhouse, who is one of the wealthiest, or from one of the wealthiest families in the community where she lives. She lives alone with her father, and she had a governess and kind of a best friend who was fairly like a mother figure to her for a really long time. I think they said since she was 10 or something like that. But for a really long time, she had a woman live with her, and she was her governess, and her name was Miss Taylor. I'm forgetting. She got married, so she's now Mrs. Weston. And she, of course, moved out of Emma's house and in with her husband. And Emma's feeling very sort of empty at the beginning of the movie, sort of like she's lost her best friend and mentor, even though she's only, less than a mile away and staying in the same town. Emma is a very likable character. She's very charming and very social and very knowledgeable about the sort of customs of the time and how to interact in society. She's very well bred that way. Her family, of course, has a lot of money, and she surrounds herself with people who really think the world of her, who think that she's kind of perfect. She can do no wrong. Everything she says is either very smart or very witty or very kind of funny, things like that. So she has a very high opinion of herself. The one person who ever really tells her that she's wrong or tells her that she's anything other than kind of perfect and wonderful is Mr. Knightley, and he's one of the key characters in the story. He is the brother of Emma's sister's husband. His name is George Knightley. Emma's brother-in-law would be John Knightley, married to her sister Isabella. So he's sort of her brother-in-law through marriage, and he's been a part of Emma's life since her sister got married about 10 years ago, or almost 10 years ago. So she's known him for 9 or 10 years, and since she was maybe 12 or 13 years old, and she looks to him as sort of this pillar of knowledge and goodness and all of the sort of things that are right in the world. She sees him as sort of her moral compass in a way. He's always the first to tell her if she's said something that's maybe a little bit airheaded, or if she's made the wrong decision, or if she's, kind of being a little bit flighty or too girly or something like that. And they have a very honest and open relationship, and it's one of the things that Emma, I think, prizes most in her life, is having him to sort of talk to and know that he will always, tell her the truth, even if it's not something that she wants to hear. Emma's father, of course, is another principal character in the novel. He's very old. he's one of those gentlemen who got married very late in life, and so his children, he had sort of an older age. Emma's mother died at a young age, so she's only really ever known her father as a parent figure, and then, of course, Mrs. Weston, who was her governess, was in a lot of ways the mother figure for her in her life. So Emma's father is old and sort of has an old-fashioned view of the world, and he's very kind of I don't want to say OCD, but he's very paranoid about just about everything. He's very careful about things like food and nutrition, and he's very quick to give other people advice as to what they should do as far as what they should eat, or whether they should, wear certain clothes, or whether they should go out in certain weather, and it's always out of concern for their health and their well-being, but he sort of sees himself as a bit of a caretaker of all of the people around him, and he thinks it's his duty to tell them you know, what they should or shouldn't do in a very nice way. And his favorite person in the world is his apothecary, which at the time is kind of like a pharmacist who gives him all of his drugs to cure him of all these ailments that he thinks he has from the weather or the food or the, you know, clothes that he wears and all that sort of stuff. So Emma's primary role is to take care of her father, or make sure that her father is taken care of. Of course, ladies in that time didn't cook or clean or do anything like that, but she makes sure that he has everything that he needs and that he's very well taken care of and that he's comfortable. Because of that, Emma sort of has this self-made rule, or sort of a bit of a resolution, that she doesn't ever want to get married. She says that being the mistress of her father's house is sort of all she ever wants to do, that she's needed there and that she belongs there and that she's comfortable there, and that she doesn't need money to be married. She has a lot of money through her family, and she's pretty comfortable with that. She's pretty happy with herself in that sense. So she's a very kind of independent character, which at this particular point in time, of course, isn't a very common thing. It is a fairly common thread in Jane Austen novels, of course, having that one strong, independent, kind of resolute female character who just doesn't need a man, doesn't feel the need to get married as far as social customs or society's expectations and things like that. Doesn't particularly care if people think that she's a spinster or something. She says at one point in the novel, actually says that spinsters are poor people, and that an unmarried woman who has her own money is just a little bit eccentric. And I think that she's kind of right. Of course, I don't live in this particular time period, but I think that she's probably right in the sense that people with a lot of money can probably get away with a lot more than people who don't. In terms of plot developments, of course, the novel really kicks off when a young girl named Harriet Smith moves to town. She's an orphan. She's just kind of finished school, and she's boarding at a house in town. Harriet is, I think, 17, and very beautiful, blonde, kind of naive girl who just absolutely worships at Emma's feet. She meets her, and as soon as she meets her, thinks that she's just the smartest, wisest, most accomplished and beautiful woman she's ever seen, and and Emma's, I think, 4 years older than her, and sort of takes her under her wing and thinks to herself, oh, well, I can do for Harriet a little bit of what Mrs. Weston or Miss Taylor had done for her, as far as trying to sort of guide her through the world and through social customs and society's expectations and that sort of thing. So Emma starts to give Harriet advice, and that's when things start to go terribly wrong. She thinks that she is very good at reading people, and that she knows sort of what people are thinking, and that she can tell what their feelings and what their intentions are and that sort of thing. And she really isn't that great at it. She's guided in her attempts to guide Harriet by Mr. Knightley, so he tries to sort of watch out for her and make sure that she doesn't do anything to really screw up her life or Harriet's life. And I think he's ultimately successful, but there are some twists and turns and a lot of bumps in the road along the way, and some of them are hilarious and some of them are really unfortunate. And I love the last 5 chapters. I think the last 5 chapters are probably the best part of the book for me. This book is very long. Okay, it's more than 500 pages. It's almost 600 pages long. The copy that I have anyway, and I'm sure that most will be about the same. There are about 100 pages somewhere in the middle of this novel that I really think I could have lived without. Not that they're badly written, and not that they're there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that there's a lot of description of sort of like social gatherings or parties or things like that, where nothing really happens that is significant to the plot. And it's not that it's not enjoyable reading, it's just that there, I don't know, maybe I'm just impatient, but I found while I was reading it that there were some points where right around the middle of the book I was reading and kind of thinking, nothing's really happening. Emma is sort of has a bit of a reputation, actually, as far as novels go, as being a really pleasant book to read, a really kind of lovely book to read, but it's not a book where a lot of stuff goes on. It's a kind of lovely novel about a young girl who lives in a sort of quiet town outside of London, who's very comfortable and satisfied and happy in her life, and doesn't have a lot of adventure, and doesn't really want it and doesn't crave it, and it's sort of like what goes on in a small town. A lot of gossip and a lot of parties and a lot of sort of social activities, and not a lot of, you know, drama. So she sort of kind of creates that drama for herself at every opportunity. And that's sort of it. Emma, I think, is beautiful. If you have some spare time, if you haven't read it, I definitely recommend it. I think it's lovely. I always love a Jane Austen novel. I don't know what it is about her writing that makes me feel smarter. I feel like because her vocabulary is so rich, and she has such a range of vocabulary that's not really used in writing today, or not used in dialogue or conversation today, that I feel like when I read her writing and sort of the conversations that the characters in her books have, I feel like it kind of enriches my vocabulary a little bit, which is always a good thing. And I think that's it. That's Emma by Jane Austen, and I hope that if you read it, you enjoy it, and if you have read it, or if you want to read it and sort of post a response, or let me know what you thought, I would love to hear from you guys, and I hope you have a great week. The next review will be, I'm crossing my fingers, within the next couple days, Mansfield Park, because I've been really behind on my reading and on my videos. So Mansfield Park, within the next, I'm going to say 3 days, you'll have that coming at you. And until then, I'll see you later. Okay, bye.